August 6th is a big day because 75 years ago today was the bombing of Hiroshima. And so we, Marion Pack, put a program together on this, and that will come later. So this is a big day. It's also a big day because John Lewis passed away on July 17th. And for me, reading about John Lewis and becoming more familiar with his life, I see that he is a real role model for courage to step up and do what's right, and step up to face and challenge authority and the arrogance of people that are racist and not doing what they should be doing in government. So I just want to say, God bless John Lewis and bless him on his path, because he truly, for me personally, has made a big difference, and I think for a lot of other people as well. So let's go on to our main program is on the new jail, and I have the privilege of introducing John Lutz. And so John is the Democratic candidate for the Board of Supervisors for Yavapai County from District 1. And all the others are Republicans. And John is always just such a voice for reason and the progressive voice. So I've known John for several years now, and I just enjoy hearing what he has to say. So, okay, John, you're up.
Thank you, Mavis. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak to all my great friends. And I mean, you guys are the heart and soul of my community in Prescott. And I just feel like every time I get to spend time at an Indivisible meeting, I'm honored by the fact that we have such a rich community of passionate people who are active in doing the things that they believe in. So thank you all for being out there. It's an amazing group, Prescott Indivisible. So I think it's important as far as the jail to couch my position in time. And this is because so many people say things about it being too late, or nothing can be done about it now. It's already a said and done deal. But my position was released on April the 6th. And this was following the April the 1st County Board of Supervisors meeting, in which Chairman Craig Brown had not yet signed the papers for the bond loan. The Board of Supervisors had solicited bids for the bond. They had gotten different rates and different packages, and it had chosen one, but it was still 2 weeks before he signed the papers for the $65 million that they cannot give back. And on April 1st, it was acknowledged by all of us, but also as it was acknowledged by the Board of Supervisors, that we were suddenly deep into a COVID recession. And before Craig Brown felt comfortable signing the papers, he did a round where he asked each of the 5 Board of Supervisors what they thought about going forward. None of them said a word. They all gave the go-ahead to go ahead and sign the papers and take out the loan. So, and this was, we knew April 1st that the COVID recession was already deep. And so I think that's really important in time to know that I released this basic same statement that I'm gonna present here on April the 6th, sent it to all of the Board of Supervisors, sent it to every news outlet I could find in town. Nobody published it. And the fact is, they could have pulled back and been a little bit patient. There's several important factors in the new jail issue that tell me the supervisors would have been wiser to slow it down and reassess the entire project before committing to the money, borrowing the money, or committing any of the money to construction. Voters soundly rejected the sales tax increase to pay for the jail complex twice. And many tell me they believe they were voting against the jail. This understanding should have been acknowledged and it should have been honored by the Board of Supervisors. Without the sales tax funding, as they said they would, the supervisors went forward with an 18% property tax hike last year, effectively raising our taxes at the maximum rate that they were allowed to by law over a 9-year period. That's 9 times 2%. That doesn't look like sensible management to me, or to many of the voters that I've been talking to. The supervisors are basing their decision to spend $65 million borrowed dollars on the new jail based on a consultant's projections from 2011. The county economy and demographics have changed a lot in the intervening time, particularly in the last few months with the pandemic. Current best judicial practices recommend less incarceration of nonviolent offenders, taking many people out of jails, and we're also seeing that COVID-19 is going to leave us with a new reality as to how we want to crowd people up. We don't want people in jails that are in there for 5 joints, catching COVID and dying, and getting a death sentence for a small offense. It's just not right. There's plenty of way of keeping people out of jails, like home detention and tracking. This not only reduces the cost, but helps maintain the economic security of families and their businesses and their employers. They can keep their jobs sometimes, which if you throw them in jail, they can't keep their jobs. These practices do not appear in the report recommending the new jail and should be considered by the supervisors as well as our judicial and law enforcement officers. For these reasons, I believe the wisest course would have been to suspend and still is, to suspend the collection of the property tax increase, hold the funds that we've already borrowed now, which we hadn't borrowed when I first came out with my position, and conduct a forward-thinking review of the county's likely needs once the pandemic has subsided. And that's pretty much my position on the jail. So I thank you for this opportunity to present it. And, you know, I am honored to introduce, to talk to you further about this issue, Toni Denis, who has been my friend, my mentor, my advisor, my supporter, and she was the previous chair of the Democratic Party before I took the job. But I just can't say, Toni's been involved in so many things that I couldn't possibly list them. I just know what she's meant to me, and she's meant the world to me. So I give you Toni Denis. Thank you.
Thank you, John. You made some wonderful, very cogent points in your talk. I think that the county gets stuck on an idea and they just won't budge from it. And I've seen it before, but it's really interesting if you look at the history of this whole project. It goes back 20 years. There was a guy named Gerald Brownlow. I guess the Brownlow Trail is named after him.
I know.
You know that? And he came up with the idea of putting all of this stuff together, the courtrooms and the juvenile detention center and the jail, and making it one giant complex. And they bought the land for it. It was 140 acres, and sat on it and decided not to go forward with it. Actually, I pulled up an article from the Courier because I'm doing research for a story for 5 Senses, and I'm interviewing people right now, and I just wanted to make sure I got all of my facts straight on it. I actually did a column on this back in 2014 when I was writing a column for the Courier, which I resigned from when I became chair of the party. But at that time, I thought the building a new jail was a good idea. I toured the jail in Camp Verde. It was crowded. They were using these plastic boats on the floor at that time. What I didn't know then that I know now is that they were taking inmates from state prisons for money. And this is documented. So they didn't have to have crowding in the jail. And there's more to that story, but let me tell you about the, no, that's not it. Dang it. The Brownlow proposal, if I can find it. I've got like 5 things open on my desktop. It was his vision back in 2003 that he thought would serve the personnel better of the jail and of the, actually it's a 180-acre property, my mistake there. He thought it would be better for the employees. It wasn't really about the criminals or the families or, you know, things that we look for now, rehabilitation of people. They just thought it would be good to have everything in one place. So he proposed that. They tried to make it happen. They found out that the people in the town didn't want it. This was back in 2003. There was a big uproar. They didn't want the courtroom, all of them, to be moved out of downtown because that brought a lot of business to downtown at that time. And the town was smaller then, so it would have made a big economic impact on Prescott. So they even got the financing from the bank and gave it back. So this is not unprecedented for the county to give the money back. They kept enough to build the juvenile detention center, which was desperately needed, actually. I've been told it was kind of a rat's warren of buildings that were put together, and it was really bad for the kids. So that, I think, was approved of by people in the town, too. At that time, the jail would have cost $12 million, and it would have been 120 beds. And that was actually the price that the 644-bed Camp Verde jail cost when they built it back in 2001, it opened. So it costs a lot of money to transport prisoners back and forth, and that was part of their rationale. But as John said, now we have technology. Once they're transported there, we don't have to keep bringing them back and forth to courtrooms. They can actually talk to judges through a Zoom-like closed circuit system that they have in place. At that time, they had closed the jail in Prescott in the building, the police building, but they reopened it I think it was 3 or 4 years later, because 4 deputies died in a car accident transporting prisoners. So they didn't want to have to make them work and drive people in the middle of the night to the Camp Verde jail. So they had a place where they could just put them temporarily. And that's continued. That was Sheriff Masher who put that in place. They reopened it. But the whole reason why they had to build a jail quickly back in 2001 is because the one in Prescott was so ridiculously overcrowded. They had people jammed into cells. They were, you know, hurting each other. And it was dangerous, and there were lawsuits, and the federal government required them to build a new jail. Now they keep saying we're at the point where we're gonna have to build another jail, but there's no evidence of that. In fact, the numbers of people in the jail have been going down consistently for a lot of reasons, partly because they've followed some of the recommendations by the Chin report to reduce recidivism from mentally ill people. They get them into access immediately when they're in jail, so they can get into rehab programs and they can get psychiatric help if they have mental problems. So that those numbers just keep going down, and we know that. In addition to that, the crime rate has consistently dropped for the past 17 years. So why are their numbers so high? Part of that has to do with our county attorney's decision-making on who she's going to prosecute. They have a very harsh plea bargain system. If you have charges against you, they offer you, if you don't take their plea bargain, they throw the book at you, first of all. And the plea bargains almost always, if there's any kind of even property damage, drugs involved, they involve jail. They involve incarceration, and it's not necessary. And I hate to say it, but David Stringer made a good point in some of his ads. He says that we are way too harsh on people who just possess drugs for their own personal use. And that is borne by statistics too. I don't have those in front of me, but I would say a good 100 people get incarcerated every year for possessing drugs for their own personal use, not for sale. So regardless of what Sheila Polk will tell you, oh, we don't jail people for joints, she's lying. It's just the facts, and that can be proven. But I asked with the Freedom of Information Act request for a whole lot of information about incarceration and about how long people are held and, you know, statistics, and they didn't provide it to me. And some of it I can get from FBI statistics, but they said if it's not reports that they put together themselves that they have available, they're not going to go out of their way to find it for me. I would have to go there and comb through all the records myself, very likely, and figure it out myself. And the Phoenix New Times did that when it came to marijuana possession, and that's why I know that they incarcerate people for marijuana possession for low amounts of marijuana. It's just a fact. And some of them have other things on their record, and that they use that as a lever to put them in jail from their past records. So there are a lot of issues here that if you just listen to the supervisors, you would not know about. And back when I toured the Camp Verde jail, it seemed very reasonable to me that there would need to be a new jail built. And what they had proposed was 144 beds, and it would cost, I think it was $38 million. And now, last year, when they decided to go forward with this, they said it would be a $50 million jail with 144 beds. Well, now we find out it's a $68 million complex with 600 beds. And as far as we know, there are no plans to close the Camp Verde jail. So that's 1,244 jail beds. And wouldn't you just imagine that if they have all of those beds, they are going to fill them. And that's what other people in other cities have found when they've had jails built in their towns and cities, that they get filled one way or another, either with inmates from the state prison system, or, you know, they funnel people from the juvenile system into the prisons when they turn 18. I've heard some horror stories. I've interviewed some people who've had kids in the juvenile system, and they feel like they're just persecuted and they're railroaded into jail if they do anything wrong. I'm still collecting information on that. But on top of that, as John said, the world is changing. Incarceration is not the answer, and we know that. Studies prove it over and over again. And just thinking that you'll solve all the problems by throwing people behind bars is not it. And then you have to contend with them when they get out of jail and they have the same issues. If there's no treatment and no effort to actually rehabilitate them. And we know that 60% of people in county jails have mental health issues. So maybe some of them have obvious ones and they get treatment, and others are just hard cases, people who struggle in life, and one way or another, they wind up in the system and they never get out. They go back over and over again. So the one thing that's positive about this project, and the only thing that I endorse in it personally, is that there would be a mental health wing to this 600-bed jail. And that's desperately needed here. It's needed all over the state. This state has been ranked 53rd in the country, believe it or not. How is that possible? Well, Arizona was ranked behind Guam, Puerto Rico, and I think one other US territory for mental health treatment. It's extremely poor here. We have one large facility basically for the criminally insane, and we have a lot of small treatment facilities, and it's inadequate. And even people who have young children who need mental health services can't get them. Sometimes they wind up taking them all the way to Las Vegas for services. So that I actually endorse, and I think that would be a positive. But you don't need to build a 14-acre facility to have a mental health center. So it's excessive. It's a tremendous amount of money. And I assume that they see this as a grand vision, a great thing, but the timing is very bad. I'm not sure that the need is there. And it's going to be a big burden for some people, especially when we're dealing with the potential for people to be out of work for a year or more. And we'll see if the federal government comes through and helps them. But I'm reading studies and comments that this may not be over until 2022. That's a scary thought. And what about these people in jail? We've already had, our county administrators had COVID. We had a mental health person. I think it was actually somebody who was a driver for the Camp Verde jail who died from COVID. We've had a couple of prisoners get sick with COVID, and it's a danger. And if somebody is in there for nonviolent crime, they shouldn't be there, in my opinion. I think that there needs to be a better system. And I don't know how long you want me to keep talking. I'd be happy to take questions. I could tell you that a lot of people already are hurting. I know of people who are worrying whether they're going to have a place to live next month.
How about I ask a couple questions and then you can go on as long as you want about each of the issues. What kind of financial strain would be put on the county if they stopped the new jail? They're saying millions. It would cost them millions of dollars.
I don't know that that's true. I actually have a copy of the contract for the bond, and there would be some penalties, but there are also some clauses within that contract that gives them an out without penalties. And one of them has to do with a national disaster. And I would say a pandemic is a national disaster.
Yeah.
I'm actually having Tony Shaw take a look at that. He's an attorney here in town, and to give us his thoughts on whether one of those could be enacted or if it would, require more dire situation. But yeah, there is a possibility of giving the money back and not proceeding forward.
Great. Thanks, Tony. Do you know how many people are in jail waiting trial?
Right now?
Well, is there like an average? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, they, last year, I know they were under their maximum. They say their maximum is not 644, it's 600 in Camp Verde. They change these numbers as they wish. but that is the official number, 644, that they can have in the jail. No, I am still working to get those numbers. I should be getting them from Dave Rode. He gave me the tour of the jail, me and Ralph Hess, 4 years ago, and talked about it. But there are people who are held in the jail who can't afford bail. So that should not be the case. And Ralph Hess was very much against the jail for that reason, because he knew that to be the case. He's a former judge. So yeah, that is another component of why those numbers are probably not correct.
So if, and this is, because I really don't understand. If they can't make bail, they stay in jail.
Yeah.
But
Until they have their court date.
right. And so why are the court dates, excuse me, so not being, why isn't a speedy trial available?
Oh, well, the courts are backed up. I mean, they get a hearing in front of a judge, I think, within 48 hours. But other than that, they have to wait to get their court-appointed attorney. I've heard complaints about that, too. A lot of these court-appointed attorneys are basically employed by the county, and they're expected to do the bidding in the county, and they don't act in the best interests of a lot of the indigent clients that they have. And that's difficult to prove, but you know, they're usually very low paid and overworked. That's typical all over the country, frankly. But yeah, if you don't have the money to get bail and you don't have your own attorney, you're much more likely to wind up in jail for some period of time.
Right. And then, would you consider that the jail is a moneymaker?
Yes, absolutely.
Like,
The fees, the fines, the you know, a lot of the inmates have to pay restitution, believe it or not. The money that you know, everybody in the system is paid for their salaries. The jail, if they rent out beds, they make a lot of money on them. Much more profitable than to have their own county people in there.
you know how much they get per inmate per day?
Good question. I'm going to ask that.
And then, you know, we read that the correction officers are, you know, very poorly paid. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, that if the jail's making money, why aren't their employees or their employees making more money? Why are they at like poverty level?
Well, why are teachers making so little money? I think it's a matter of priorities, is what it really comes down to. Meanwhile, the county is looking to raise the salaries of all their employees in the county building by 4% this year. I think they passed that this week, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it was in the article or not, but so.
Well, and one more comment and question. When David Rhodes came to the Democratic Women this past year, he talked about this great program he had in place to cut, you know, recidivism. It was alcohol, drug, etc. treatment. He had kids that got their college degrees. Now, I don't know how they could do that within 18 months, but whatever.
I have a hard time believing that one, but go on.
Right. So, and then he, you know, he got what, I can't remember, the first grant he got was like $500,000. He was going back to the state again and was going to ask for $1 million because it was so successful. Have you heard about that?
I've heard about the program. I don't know the specifics on that, but I could ask about it. But I know someone who some years ago had a son who was in a manslaughter situation from a car accident, and he was incarcerated. And Sheila Polk wanted to throw the book at him. Luckily, his mother had money, his parents had money, and they were able to get him out of jail. But they didn't have any programs then. They had them on lockdown 24/7, except for meals. And they had no privileges. They didn't have access to books unless they were sent to them. So it was a pretty you know, harsh environment.
Yeah.
County jail. Worse than the state prisons. They had
I
more.
have, Tony, I have a question, and Maria, it's a little different than questions.
Who's speaking?
Sue Ellen,
Who?
Sue Ellen,
Oh,
you
okay.
may. Anyway, when I'm listening to you and John, my question has been reading about this all along is there any leeway within the contract and within the bond to make this a smaller, even make this a smaller jail, fewer beds, lower price? Is that even possible? Is that something we can even hope for or work toward?
I don't think this county board wants to do that. I think they've made up their minds that, you know, because this year is the year where 3 of them are going off the board. They won't pay the political price for voting for that. And obviously in this last primary, a couple of the incumbents are not paying the price either. People voted them back in. So I think they're just gonna, they figure this is the year they're gonna go for it. They are gonna get this thing done, whether people like it or not, because it's not politically popular. And, you know, they don't care what the public thinks.
So if we build 600 and rent them out to state prisoners and marshal prisoners,
Well,
Where
here's
does that-
the interesting thing, I have to say. They wanted to build this jail up to federal standards. You don't have to do that in a county jail. Neither of the other 2 jails are up to that. In fact, Sheriff Joe Arpaio had tents in the desert. You don't have to do that. They want to do that because they want to put other prisoners in there. That's my take on it. And they're spending a lot of money for this kind of state-of-the-art facility.
Tony, if I can jump in, I have a little bit different understanding, and you know, you could be correct, but it was my understanding that the $65 million bond that we took out is going to build just the first 114 beds of the jail here, and that the intention is to fully build it out to 600 beds, but the cost of that is over $200 million. And that's what their intent is to go forward with. And so, you know, this, if I'm right, the overall cost of this project is, you know, going to escalate from, you know, 86 million you're hearing now with interest to over 200 million. And with interest, that's going to be like $250 million. So I really think that this is just a grandiose scheme, and it's not really necessary. The cheapest way to add beds in the county, the Camp Verde jail was built with 2 wings that are 2-story construction, and they were built with the infrastructure to add a 3rd story. And the cheapest way for us to add beds, if we do have to add beds, is to put a 3rd floor on that jail. And I think there's so many ways that we can defer people from incarceration that we're not using. And, you know, we do need the mental health expansion here in Prescott, but, you know, I mean, this is just ridiculous. I mean, incarceration rates in this country are completely out of control, and Yavapai County is like the center of it right now.
I guess I'd like to say something about the location. I've been active as a volunteer for 20 years with the juvenile courts, both as a mentor and in other capacities, and was very involved in closing the old juvenile detention center. There's a video still on the county website. You could see what a horror that was. There were kids locked 3 in literally a cell behind steel doors, and the county ignored it with the idea that that's what kids, that'll teach them a lesson. And it never went to a vote. It was pushed forward with volunteers and their staff. We finally got it through the county. It came in under budget, but it has been wonderful with the idea that it was never going to be around a jail. Scott Mayberry, who was the director of juvenile court services, who recently retired, was so happy that it was located where it is now. was at first going to be located near Pioneer Park, and there was an outcry, who wants juvenile delinquents near the park? So it is where it is, but it was going to be isolated. To build a large jail next to a juvenile justice center sends such an awful message. Just terrible.
Excuse me, just one moment. If we're gonna finish this evening, we're gonna close off this part of the program. We will give John and, well, everybody actually who would want it, a transcription of the chat. So you have that available, because they're now at the very end, you know, there are a few questions that are still out there. So, or maybe we'll have you back. So thank you both very, very much. So we're going to continue, we're going to go on, and Mavis is going to continue with remembering the 75th anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Thanks, Toni and John.
Yeah, thank you, Toni and John. Very interesting, a lot of good information, and I'm sure the saga will continue. And thank you, Maria, for being the Indivisible chat box moderator. The acronym, of course, is our own ICBM. So thank you. Our next part of the program is going to be, this is Marion's program. Unfortunately, she is having technical difficulty with her Zoom audio, so I am going to read the transcript that Marion put together. And just for a little, just a little background, let's just see what, I'm sorry, I need to find Marion so we can see what her t-shirt looks like. There we go. There it is. No nukes. So today, thank you, Marion. So today is the 75th anniversary of the bombing at Hiroshima. And so I am going to read Marion's program. It's entitled Remembering the 75th Anniversary. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Never Again. Marion, I want to tell you a little bit about Marion, is that she is one of our PI members, and she is a longtime activist and a member of the Peace Builders. And in case you read the Daily Courier today, she wrote a letter to the editor on nonviolent protest. So obviously this is something she feels very strongly about. So here's Marion's transcript. Last year, on the 34th anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Marion organized a peace builder storytelling called Hiroshima, Nagasaki Remembered, Stories from the Nuclear Age. 6 people told their stories of how the bomb affected them. Attending were Gail Mangum and her 16-year-old granddaughter, Emma, who was visiting from Hiroshima, Japan. Emma was so touched that Americans remembered the date of August 6th and 9th and the loss of Japanese lives that she was moved to give a touching impromptu speech that Gail said was very out of character for her normally shy granddaughter. Emma is joining us by sending us a beautiful message she made for us in the Hiroshima Memorial Peace Park.
Hi, this is Emma Mangum. Last year I was in the meeting because I was studying in Prescott High, and I was really moved by the meeting, and I'm very grateful that I can be a part of it this year too. So I'm in Peace Park right now, and right behind me is the Atomic Bomb Dome, which used to be a exhibition hall before the attack. In this area, the entire Peace Park used to be a main shopping street, and there were so many people. So right in front of me is a river right here called Motoyasu River, where many people died in because they were desperate for water and jumped into it. Every year on August 6th, many people gather here at nighttime and float lanterns with messages they wrote on it in the river, and it's really quite pretty, but unfortunately we aren't allowed to do it this year due to COVID-19. But I heard somewhere that there's a website open till I think the end of this month where you can send messages online and float like a virtual lantern. So if you have time, please check it out. I think it'll come up if you search Hiroshima Lantern 2020. I might have said this last year too, but the fact that people in America care and think about the day August 6th makes me really happy, and it feels really hopeful to me. So, and I'm sure that many people in Hiroshima think the same way too. So thank you again, and take care.
Lovely video, Marion. Hundreds of organizations worldwide work on nuclear weapons issues in their own way, within their own communities, but are united in a goal for a nuclear-free world. This is the statement issued on the 75th anniversary entitled, "We Are Still Here Coalition." 75 years ago, the United States conducted 2 nuclear attacks against the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, devastating their populations and destroying their infrastructure. In the process of manufacturing and testing these weapons, civilians within downwind communities, nuclear workers, uranium miners and their families, and military personnel were also exposed to harmful and sometimes deadly levels of ionizing radiation. Following their use in Japan, the production and past testing of nuclear weapons in the United States as well as internationally continues to harm the health, environment, and cultures of communities around the world. Today, we are living in a time of extraordinary nuclear dangers. Vital international agreements to reduce and control nuclear weapons worldwide are being abandoned. Budgets for the development and production of new nuclear weapons are growing. Tensions among nuclear-armed nations are rising to levels not seen since the Cold War. As the mayors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki warned, we are badly off course in efforts to honor the plea of the Hibakusha, which are the survivors of either atomic blast, and end the nuclear threat. People created these weapons and designed the systems governing their use. People can work to eliminate them. As the only country to use nuclear weapons in conflict, the United States has a moral obligation to lead the world in ending this menace and restoring communities impacted by nuclear weapons. We must press our leaders to take the actions necessary to ensure nuclear weapons are never used again and to negotiate in good health the global initiation most devastating weapons of mass destruction. So this next video is of the floating lanterns at the peace ceremony at Hiroshima last year. After we watch the video, we will have 75 seconds of silence, 1 second for each year we have lived with the nuclear threat. Very nice, Marion. The next part of our program is we're going to hear about the parade from Maria Elena. Okay.
Okay. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving us the time. Let me open this up and share. I am sharing a screen that hopefully kind of says it all. We are determined to show our community that progressive values and candidates are alive and well in our community and in our neighborhoods. There were, right after the 4th of July, a number of calls to the Democratic Party and elsewhere saying, you know, where are the people that we want to vote for? Where are you guys? And so this is our way to address that. We are perhaps reasonably or perhaps unreasonably concerned about some pushback, as sometimes we have seen at the town square when we have demonstrated on foot. So we are doing this event by car. Also, of course, because we do not want to encourage any kind of activity that will bring us in contact, too close contact with each other, masks or not. Anyway, so we are doing this on August the 14th. We are encouraging like-minded organizations to join us. No one will know the route until the day of the event. We will be handing out maps that Jeff from our team has created and will print out. There are also a number of do's and don'ts in terms of particularly not engaging with people who might object to what we're doing, either by, you know, verbally or approaching our vehicles or whatever. It is a 16-mile route. My husband and I tried it last Friday. It took us 30 minutes because we ended up getting a lot of green lights. So we expect 45 minutes to an hour. We hope to have a lot of cars. We want people to decorate them, you know, patriotically, but most importantly, with signs that promote our candidates, our causes, our values, with flags, you know, could be anything related to positive messaging. We want to make sure that what we do through this parade is to basically be festive, but even in the middle of a national disaster, but also be encouraging of people to look at who our candidates are, what our values are, and getting them to vote our way in November. So here's the graphic that Jeff prepared for us. And then underneath is a descriptor of what we're trying to do. This will go out in a message to all of PI, hopefully tomorrow. It will be, it will be on the PI private Facebook page tomorrow, and over the weekend, it will be announced. Please note that here it says location of meetup to follow. So for those of you who are on PI's, on Prescott Indivisible's mailing list, you will get a couple of alerts, and the final one, which will be next Wednesday, will disclose the location where we will meet up. We are perhaps being excessive, but I think we want to make sure that we are not disrupted. And for those of you who are going to have the question, We will be notifying the police. Marion, who is our peacekeeper lead and has good contacts with the police, will be notifying them on Monday, and we'll be giving them, they're the only people who are going to have the map beforehand. And we will be asking them if they can and will agree to basically have a person available at the site where we're convening, just in case. In the past, when we have had events on the square, they have been very supportive and have had both plainclothes and uniformed police, and sometimes even vehicles, or even in bikes around, so that if any issue comes up, they are immediately available. So we expect nothing less. Here, this gives you an opportunity to read it if you haven't already. And I would ask, if you don't mind, if either Jeff or Marion, although apparently Marion can't speak, have anything to add, and I would welcome questions.
I think you pretty much nailed it, Maria Elena. You did a great job. We really want to try and have as big of a showing as we can. I guess that's the only thing I would really add is please tell your friends. We are going to have some flags and some things at the parking lot where we're going to meet. And I'm going to be printing up a handful of signs too, but I think that it's going to be best to just let everybody know to try and create their signs and tape them to their doors, and try and find a flag or something that can move in the breeze. And hopefully all together, we can really show up here for our community and for our candidates, and let our community know that we're here, we're proud, we're not going anywhere. Thank you.
Actually, Jeff, I'm surprised you didn't bring it up. The one thing I forgot to mention is that in developing the routing, Jeff identified some locations where we're going to have camera people taking stills and videos of the parade, and they're going to be in places that are going to highlight our town or highlight our event. And after the fact, we are going to really send that information out because we know that the effectiveness of this will greatly depend on having it on social media. But we're going to do the social media after the fact. And one more thing, I guess, yeah, I did mention it. Together with the map, every driver will be receiving a list of do's and don'ts in terms of how to behave during the event. Nothing really restrictive, but just common sense things, because we want to avoid trouble. Because as anything else, if anything happens that is negative, that's what's going to show up in the news the next day. So we want to avoid that.
That's right. Maria Elena nailed it there. You know, this is really about optics, not just for the people who see it as we, have the parade, but for what we can broadcast through our social media outlets to let the world know that even though we live in a challenging place as far as being progressives, that we are working really hard here, and we want to, let the conservatives around us know too that we're not going anywhere. We love being here. We're proud of it. So we live in a beautiful place. So we're going to get some footage of that, thanks to Bill Court and our video crew. Thanks.
And one more thing, I hope she's okay with me announcing it. Marion was able to, and Delina has announced that she will be here for us on that day. So go, sir. Watch out. Yay!
Thank you, Maria Elena. Can I have my screen back?
Yes.
All right, thanks. Hey, so I'd like to really thank this parade committee, Maria Elena, Jeff, and Marion. You guys have done a great job for this planning, and so there'll be more things to come out. and follow along. And they keep talking about the do's and don'ts. I'm just going to go because I think it's going to be fun. Because I love a parade. So yeah, thank you for all your hard work.
No questions?
I hope not.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, no. Just you've done such a great job.
Yeah.
Covered everything.
Okay, so next we're going to talk about the endorsement of some candidates. Maria, do you want to talk about that at all?
Sure. 3.5 years ago, Indivisible was born. And ever since then, the main goal has been to push back against Trump and the Trump agenda. So here we are, ready for the election in November, and we have 88 days left. And it's Prescott Indivisible's job to join and stay with the entire program of Indivisible. So tonight, we're asking you to endorse Joe Biden for president, Mark Kelly for U.S. Senate, and Delina DeSanto for CD4 House of Representatives. What we'd like to do is Mavis will break us into some small breakout rooms. We'll discuss it briefly, get back together again. And then I want to go over some other items regarding the endorsement process for National Indivisible. So, Mavis?
Great. I'm going to put everybody in a breakout room and designate one leader because I want you to discuss these endorsements. I only want to know if there are objections to any of these endorsements. If there are, put them in the chat box as you get out. Otherwise, I'm going to assume and if there are no objections, we're going to assume it's a unanimous decision. So here we go in the breakout rooms. We're going to stay in there for 6 minutes, and I'll give you a 1 minute warning in the chat box. Okay, is everybody back? Maria, would you like to talk about the endorsement process?
Sure. Basically, Indivisible is making the push to endorse congressional candidates. And if vetted and voted on by all the Indivisibles in CD4, Delina's endorsement her campaign would get a $1,000 check. Her candidacy and bio would be added to National Indivisible's website. She would get help with website and social media graphics, lots of Indivisible swag, press releases, some help with direct mail. So now that we have endorsed Delina, we're going to go ahead and there's a questionnaire that we have to fill out, going through a series of questions, just saying, that we endorse her and how we came to the endorsement. I'm going to do that hopefully by tomorrow. And then Delina is going to have to act really quickly and answer questions from the National Indivisible team. And excuse me, if she scores well, she'll move on to the next part of the national endorsement. And so our part in this, once she is vetted and becomes it's kind of a mid process, becomes considered for national endorsement, our members are going to have the opportunity to vote on that endorsement. They want to make sure that all of our members have a voice. But in order to vote, you have to fill in a survey saying that, yes, you are a member of Indivisible in CD4 and that you are willing to vote for her. So that I'm not exactly Sure, but it's a multi-step process. The next thing, just basically the next thing you will be asked is, do you want to participate in voting for Delina's endorsement? Then potentially weeks after that, it doesn't happen overnight, weeks after that, then you get the invitation from National Indivisible. Do you want to vote for her or not? So that's the process. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, good. Everybody's going.
Oh, we know.
We did this for David Brill. And as soon as people saw they were, that they could vote, they thought that they were expecting to be invited like the next day. You know, it's just a long process. So we just have to go with it. And the whole process will take a month.
Right.
So
I have a question is, how do we vote when we can't meet in person?
By email.
Okay.
Yeah. We do everything by email. We will send you the link that you will click the link. There'll be a form saying that inviting you to vote. And then after that's filed, that you will receive another email saying, please vote. Makes sense?
Thank you.
So this endorsement list, that will,
I can't tell who's speaking.
oh, it's Toni.
Oh, hi, yes, Toni.
So I'm unfamiliar with this process. We have a list of Democratic candidates that were on the primary that we voted for. And so will they all be on the list to be endorsed?
We have already endorsed Judy Stahl.
Okay.
When we endorsed John Lutz. Tonight we endorsed Joe Biden, Mark Kelly, and Delina DeSanto. The only one that goes on to a National Indivisible endorsement is the CD4 candidate, which is Delina. The rest, we are endorsed by Prescott Indivisible, but not by National Indivisible.
Okay.
So let's hear from Delina, who won the primary on Tuesday, and she is now officially endorsed by Prescott Indivisible. So let's hear what Delina has to say.
Come on. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Really, thank you so much. I truly, I appreciate it. And many of you even helped me on my campaign in some way or another, supported me. And you know, Prescott, I love Prescott. I love Yavapai County. It is, you are such great activists in that county. And I've heard so much from the state party and also from people in the national party. They have seen where you guys have gotten signatures and worked on the dirty money petitions. And I mean, they really are noticing you. And so that to me just goes to show you that you are very strong in your messaging. And I really appreciate that. And I love your support. And this endorsement really does mean so much to me. It really does, because it really shows that Prescott's getting behind me 100%. And really to be able to beat Paul Gosar, and I was saying this in the chat room, to be able to beat Paul Gosar, I need everybody on board. If you truly want to have Gosar out of office, if you truly think he's as bad as he really is, I need you. I need you. And I hate to say this, because I was also, you know, as I joke, but I also am very serious. We show Joe Biden and we show Mark Kelly a lot of love when it comes to donations to them. but please show me some love also. We need to share that love because it's going to take money. And this dark money that's out there, these corporate PAC monies, I will fight when I get in office. We have to get rid of it because it's destroying our democracy in regards to having good candidates in office. It takes so much money, but I need that. I'm sorry, I didn't do this 2 years ago because I hated asking for it, but it truly is the only way that we can beat him because he will get the energy money and he's already getting it and he's going to get Western Caucus to back him and he's going to get a whole bunch of other people to back him. And so he's going to have that Trump email too because now Trump endorsed him. So he's going to have that huge email list for donors. I need those things. I need that also to get the resources. And to be honest with you, I have to reach 400,000, over 400,000 voters. And to do that, I'm going to need to do commercials. And I really want to be able to call him out on everything that he didn't vote for or no votes and be able to show that I would support to protect Medicare and Social Security, protect veterans, lowering prescription drug costs, and on and on and on. So I need you, and thank you though for the endorsement. I tell you, if I can get past that national too, I could definitely use that $1,000. Every single dollar will count. But thank you everyone. Thank you for your hard work, and I hope I have you 100% behind me. Thank you.
Thank you, Delina, and congratulations again on the primary, and let's beat GOSAR.
Yes.
That guy's been on my radar for a long time. Let's get him out of there. So listen to that, support Delina, she needs us. Okay, the next candidate we're gonna hear from is Judy Stahl, and she's gonna give us a brief, since we are getting close to the end of this, a brief update on her campaign.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mavis. And congratulations, Delina. It's really wonderful to have you in this position, all speed, full speed ahead, going straight forward. I'm glad to be here with you. Again, thank you everyone in PI for endorsing my campaign. I'm Judy Stahl. I'm running for Arizona State House of Representatives for Legislative District 1. We had a primary on Tuesday, and even though I was uncontested in the primary, I ended up with over 16,600 votes. It was an astonishing outcome. And I've heard from people who really know about this stuff who just said, congratulations on your victory. Interestingly, some of the people who I thought were going to get nominated on the Republican side did not. So it makes it much more clear who I am and what I stand for, because the candidates who did get put through are hard right folks. So we're going to gather all those folks in the middle and bring them together and unify in our diversity to bring some positive balance to this district. And my team is working very hard on that. So that was very exciting. It blew my mind for a day. I was like stupefied, didn't really quite gather it. And what I want you to know is that the most important thing that you can share with people moving forward is that they need to vote for me single shot. That means when you get your ballot for the general election, under State House for LD1, it will say vote for 2, or you may vote for 2. I need you to vote for 1. You need to vote for me and leave the other vote blank. That will end up having the other candidates get an undervote. They will miss out on some votes. That will bump up my results. And that's the only way that I win in this district, which is 50% registered Republican, 30% registered Independent, and 20% registered Democrat. Now, my team is reaching out to everyone, and I need your help. What I need your help with is phone banks. We have a phone bank auto dialer that is absolutely amazing, allows us to reach a lot of people. There are lots of people in this district, believe it or not, sorry, gotta get those glasses off, who do not even have a computer. The only way we can reach them is by phone or by direct mail. And we're raising the money for direct mail. We're gonna be working on that here very soon. So if you want to throw a Zoom house party and be a pebble on the pond to help people get to know me in this district, I need your help. If you'd like, we have t-shirts on my website and we have yard signs. So if you want a yard sign, that's what needs to happen now. Let us know. Go to my website at www.judystahl.com and look under Get Involved, and you'll see where you can get a yard sign. So yeah, follow us on Twitter. It's Judy_Stahl. Follow us on Facebook at Judy Stahl for AZ House, and follow us on Instagram at Stahl for All. Other than that, if you guys can throw a few bucks my way, if you can make a recurring donation, you can go to my website on the front page to give us the money that we need for the next few months. We are working really hard. We're doing a great job, and we just secured Charlene Fernandez for a fundraiser that we're going to have, a Zoom fundraiser on August 30th. More details to come, and we'll be having an art auction in early October. So all you artists, I need a piece of you. I need a piece of yours, okay? So thank you so much. I'd love to take more time, but I think I've used it all.
All right.
You did it.
You did it, Judy. I am so proud. Okay, speaking of candidates, all right, this Wednesday is a town hall, an Arizona Corporation Commission town hall on Wednesday, August the 12th at 6 o'clock. And all three Democratic candidates, Shay Stanfield, Bill Mundell, and Anna Tovar will be there. Sandra Kennedy will moderate the event. And we are a co-host, one of 12 Indivisible co-hosts. And the Zoom link for this town hall meeting will be in the PI newsletter coming out Monday. So I hope all of you can attend. Okay, next on the agenda, Doyle. And the treasurer's report. Unmute.
Yeah, unmuting would be nice. And let me find my little report. I apologize if there's some noise, background noise. In my house, we have those ceilings that don't go all the way to the top. I apologize for that. Let's see.
My bad.
That's okay, because I had my report up here, and now, of course, I can't find it. Oh, okay. There we go. Is it visible to folks?
Nope.
Nope. Oh, you know, okay. Mavis has worked with me. She's read me books. It so happens that the talents of a treasurer don't necessarily include anything to do with Zoom. Let me try clicking share screen again. Oh, is it visible now?
No.
I don't understand. I'm clicking the green share screen.
Let me help you out here.
Oh, good. Okay, I'll put the thing up. There we go. Now that's on your screen, right, Mavis?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you can see, this is our treasurer's report, and I've made some changes to it for those of you who have been in past meetings. And what I'm trying to do is ostensibly to make it a little clearer about what's going on with our programs, where the money comes, where it goes, and, you know, essentially what we're doing, your generous donations. And also, we've been fortunate enough to get a couple of grants this month, both from Indivisible. One of them was a $500 matching grant for donations that you made. So again, thank you. And the Voter Values Project was able to garner also a grant to help with that program. And you'll be hearing more about the Voters Values Project later. But as you can see here, we have what you would normally expect to see for expenses. And if you ever have any questions, I am treasurer at prescottindivisible.org. I'd be happy to explain things that I don't have time to now. And then here you can see how the programs come out. If you look below gross income and gross expenses, you can see that our general kind of a catch-all is at a loss. And then all the other programs, essentially their income less expenses for June and July. I will say that Prescott Indivisible, quote unquote, general is where we throw all the things. If you look towards expenses, you see fees, mailing, social media, anything that doesn't have a direct, that is not directly needed to be accounted for on a program basis. Like obviously you see VVP postage, and that just lets us know and the VVP folks know, you know, how they're doing, so they can look over to the programs and see that, okay, you know, we've had plenty of postage costs and they will have more, but right now they're okay. We always need help, as you may recall. And I wanted just to make the emphasis again that we've done a lot with what you have given us, and we will continue to do more. And I will briefly state the Voter Values Project alone is well on their way to contacting 10,000 registered independents to give them information about candidates and help nudge them to vote progressive in the election. DACA alone, we've helped 26 DACA candidates over the years. And, you know, this is something really near and dear to my heart, but I won't digress for too long because I could, except for to say with our current situation, they really need our assistance more than ever. It costs $495 each year. At least that's what it costs at the present time, for each DACA student to be renewed for 1 year. And also CCJ is the Coalition of Compassion and Justice. We were able, because of you, to feed almost 6,000 people during the last few months. And so again, what we do is we turn 100% of your donations, if you want them to go to CCJ, we turn them over to CCJ. And they have been able to feed so many people, and so many people still need help. And also, I think that's it. I think I've covered everything. Yay, I get nervous when I talk.
Yeah.
This will probably rescue me shortly here.
So much, Jane. There was definitely a lot to cover, that's for sure. So the next person on our agenda is Molly Beverly. And Molly is going to talk about a fundraiser. Operator error here. Molly, are you still here? I don't see.
No, I don't see her, Mavis.
No, so we'll go on to the next one. Okay, so Maria, you want to talk about the Mass for Safe Schools?
Yeah, I do. Deb Thalasitis, who was just on, and you guys said you saw her on Twitter all the time. She's working with me, and we're supplying masks for the Yavapai County public schools. Mavis, do you have that sheet? You want to put it up?
I do.
I just wanted you to know that to date, not this, yeah, we have between Prescott Indivisible, the Democratic Women of the Prescott area, the people from the Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Prescott Valley, and all sorts of other members from the community, we've donated over 7,000 masks to the various nations. In fact, tomorrow somebody's picking up 200 more masks for the Hopi. So now our Yavapai County public schools are in need of masks. So we're putting together another effort. And so to date, we've had a request for 1,300 masks. So our mask makers or sewers, they're just amazing. And it sounds like a huge number, but I'm sure that we'll be able to fulfill all the requests for all the schools relatively quickly. I'm bringing this to your attention. So if you sew, please help us out. If you want to donate supplies or assist with expenses, you can contact Deb or you can contact me. People don't realize how expensive it is to make masks. Fabric now is, I remember being able to buy fabric for $1 a yard. Well, you can't do that anymore. And we also need 100% cotton mask or cotton fabric. And then yesterday, I was able to purchase 180 yards of elastic for $60 that I will give to the mask makers. So everybody has just been wonderful in helping out, and just continue. So thank you. And Jane wanted to know if we can use sheets for, we can use 100% cotton sheets, and they can be colored, they can be patterned. It doesn't matter. Many of the mask makers use them for lining, but if it's in really good shape, you know, they can make the outside and the interior of the mask. And now they're so cute, you know, especially with kids. It's just going to be it's so fun. I should have brought a couple. I've got some with like little dog prints on them, and to just kind of, I'm going to really enjoy this one. So thank you very much, Mavis.
Thank you, Maria, and what a great program to make masks for the school kids. My final announcement is about Move to Amend. If you are interested in learning more about Move to Amend and the movement, please join their Zoom meeting on Thursday, August the 20th at 5:30. And Helene, were you going to put the website in the chat box? And if not, you can just go to move to amend. I think it's movetoamend.org and tap into that. Okay, our next GM.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Maria.
Okay, I will ask Dee to put it on our website on the new calendar.
Oh, okay, great. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think that's it. Our next GM is September 3rd, and the VVP, the Voter Values Project people, are going to present their research on voting rights. So that is a hot topic right now. Anybody have any last minute shots?
Guys, we are rocking it here. We are really making a difference. Just saying.
Just
Yep.
I have a
Check
comment
its vote count.
or announcement.
sure. Who's talking?
Cindy. Cindy.
Cindy Wagner.
Oh, gotcha, Cindy. Okay, gotcha. Go ahead.
I just, with the census, we all know they're going to stop doing the census at the end of September. So if we could all please write to our MOCs and encourage them to, I don't know what they can do, extend the census so it's not stopped midway before they're done.
Right.
And
Please.
That's a good point because, yeah, the Trump administration is trying to cut it off early so that all of the people that are hard to track down, like immigrants and homeless, are hard to find. A lot of poor
workers.
We should make sure Molly gets that for the newsletter.
I have a quick question to Cindy with regards to the census. Because I know that they were going to do door to door despite the COVID, and I did that 4 years ago. But are there any thoughts given to actually doing phone banking for the census for the people that are not responding? Do they have access to phone numbers?
honestly, Maria, Elaine, I don't know the answer to that. I've only repeating what I've heard through Twitter or the news, just that we need some action to stop it or to help them keep going.
Yeah.
The problem that we have is because it's a federal program, it's not like you can just volunteer. You know, you have to, in essence, become an employee to work on it.
Right. I'll step in here for a second. My next door neighbor is an employee for the census. He is actually phone banking. That's what he does, is he gets on the phone every single day for about 8 hours and talks to people on the phone to do the census. And he gets a list from the Census Bureau to say, okay, you need to call these group of people today, and you need to call these group of people today. And he says that he's getting a lot of great responses, but there are a lot of people, of course, that never like to answer their phone, as we all know, and he leaves messages. And sometimes if he leaves a message, the census won't let him call them back to try to get them on the phone again. So it is imperative that we try to get the census done, because it's also where the monies are going to come to. And CD4 is one of the poorest. And if we don't have the census done here in CD4, we're not going to get the monies. But then we're also not going to get the districting, and we're not going to be able to know how many people are in a district. So now we're taking actually the vote away from people if we don't know how many people are in a district. And it's always going to be the poor people. And so the census is imperative. And if we can reach out to GOSAR, to all of our representatives, statewide and federal-wide, to tell them how concerned we are, because it is really imperative. It really is.
And interestingly enough, it's so almost apolitical, because other than the redistricting where the GOP is concerned, they don't want to give an inch, regarding everything else that the census provides, i.e. money, they're all for it. Right. So.
Right. It's grant money, it's federal monies. I mean, it's if the population base isn't there, or the poverty levels aren't there, they're not going to get the funding. And that's what worries me. It really does. It worries me for CD4 and across Arizona. That's my 2 cents.
Oh, great.
Anything else on that particular topic? Or any other topic?
I have something really briefly. Earlier today, this morning, the Courier published, many of you probably saw, a photograph with Harry Oberg calling him the newly elected person to the Board of Supervisors seat incorrectly. And I got a call from Leslie first thing this morning pointing that out. And so we mobilized our social media, and we made a little Twitter thread, brought in a couple of other journalists, and by noon they had issued a correction, which was the appropriate thing to do. But I really want to thank the Twitter army for rallying and getting a bunch of retweets and drawing that the attention to the Daily Courier, who was tagged in our thread, you know, that we see what's going on here, and come on. And so I don't know, of course, what the, you know, I would hope that they would issue a correction once they figured it out anyway, but a bunch of us drawing it to their attention right away, certainly it didn't hurt. So thanks again.
As soon as I read that this morning, I wrote to Tim Wiederanders. I said, what's wrong with you guys? Who was asleep at the wheel? And immediately I got an apology that this was a cub reporter and his editors didn't catch it. And he said there's going to be a correction tomorrow in the Courier, which of course doesn't, let's see, for tomorrow's Friday, so it should come out. But I told him that I hoped that he would put it on the front page on Sunday.
That's right. Thank you, Maria. That's awesome.
Do the same thing, really. You know, when we see something like that, we have to like act individually. We can act as a group, you know, but we just have to get on it.
Just Jeff, I want to thank everybody for the outpouring of support. I mean, there was the letter writers from Doug Knoll's letter writers from the Democratic Party were all over it. All kinds of, tons of people wrote in, called in. And Jeff and Mavis, the Twitter army that you assembled just like blasted it out, and it just really, the whole Fulcrum Alliance paid off in not just that incident, but I don't know if you heard me earlier, Jeff. I don't know if you were on yet or not, but you know, the interview that Rosemary and I did with John Deanna from the Republic yesterday was generated by your Twitter army also. It was he wrote the article for AZ Central on the Prescott College professor incident, and Harry Oberg going to the Oath Keepers meeting when they attended that. And that the push out from that article that the Twitter army here did is what landed it back on John Deanna's desk to follow up on the history of racism in Prescott and in Yavapai County. And it's just, it was absolutely, he let it slip that the whole reason that he was back up here doing a follow-up article and following up the interview was because of the social media explosion that came out of you know, your army, you know, and over that issue, over the Prescott College professor issue. So thank you. And I mean, it's just awesome. And it just shows that it absolutely works.
Yeah, thanks a lot, John. I really appreciate that. Appreciate knowing that. And if I could just say, this is the vision that, you know, we've been building for a year and a half. This is why we're doing it.
In just these two incidents, every nickel and piece of energy that I put into, you know, helping you guys get it together has paid off. I mean, it's absolutely paid off. So thank you.
That's why we're doing it. That's why we're doing it. So we actually can mobilize to reach the media, get that, and more things are coming, I believe, as well. And so that's exciting because now we have it, and so we can be poised and really do things that can pack a wallop going forward. So thank you.
My impression was that the Courier was absolutely stunned with what happened. So thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about right there. Stunned. That's right.
Dottie, did you have your hand up a while ago? Oh, unmute.
I did. I just wanted to mention when I called the Courier, they said that they were going to make the correction on page 2. And I've been pushing on when I tweeted that I hoped that we can get enough people to put it on page 1 with an article to explain that this is still, we have 2 candidates involved, and to interview the candidates to make everyone aware that this is not a done deal, because a lot of people will not look at something at the corner of page 2. I think something more needs to be publicized.
Absolutely.
Especially since Oberg actually had a picture.
Good point. Good point.
Bye, Delina.
Bye, Delina.
Bye, Delina.
Bye.
Bye, Judy.
Thank you.
All right, anything else?
Well, I just want to say that I just started doing the Twitter thing with Mavis and everybody else, and I want to learn how to be more effective. This inspires me. Thank you.
Excellent. Good segue. Twitter office hours are on Monday afternoon. The Zoom link's always in the PI newsletter. If you want to come and join us. Thanks, Toni.
Thank you.
All righty, I think it's time to wrap this baby up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Take good care. See ya.
Thank you guys for coming.